Mm-hmm. 350 degrees Celsius, you might remember from your math, Otis, is less than 800 degrees Celsius.
You know, I asked my father that one time when I was 8 years old, and I'm not sure that I ever got the answer.
It was something about calculus.
That's right.
I forget how that went.
Area under a curve.
So there's another mode of nuclear power that's being generated, and one of the uses is this type of production, and that's called a high temperature gas reactor. Now, instead of a water reactor, most of our reactors today are powered by water, so that you use high pressure water to create the steam, to create the electricity.
That's right, to turn the turbines and all that stuff.
Because you use water, those nuclear plants have to run at about 2,500 pounds per square inch. That's a very high pressure, as you can imagine. Your air pressure is typically around 15 pounds per square inch. So we're talking super high pressures, very thick walled containment systems.
Yep. Those big buildings that you see on The Simpsons.
That's exactly those are water cooling towers.
Oh, okay.
I'll explain that at another lecture.
Yes, a lecture. I thought this was a podcast.
Podcast
or a podcast.
Another podcast. All right, so what I have to do is if I cool my fuel, my nuclear fuel is cooled by gas instead of by water. Gas doesn't require a very high temperature to be a gas. I'm sorry, a very high pressure to be a gas. So I can get much higher temperature reactors that I can use for these hydrogen-powered economy production at very high efficiencies. One of the things people were looking at in the Department of Energy was whether I can build high-temperature gas reactors as a means of producing very efficiently high quantities of hydrogen for a hydrogen-based economy. So it was kind of interesting because it requires new technologies.
Right.
The British reactors were mostly high-temperature gas reactors, so it's not a technology that hasn't been used before. But it has not been one that was used very extensively in the United States, except for some experimental plants.
Got it.
If you ever hear high temperature gas reactors and hydrogen economy, that's what it's about, trying to find more efficient ways to make the hydrogen.
Got it. So there's still a need. So we talk about hydrogen as an economy or ammonia as an economy. These as cleaner power sources here, or as cleaner fuel sources. But there still is a need to create those fuels, and the creation of those fuels themselves requires energy, electricity, etc. And so there's this whole ecosystem, it sounds like, that needs to be kind of created here, in which each piece or each energy source kind of plays a part, a complementary part or an enabling part, whether that's nuclear energy creating the ability to create hydrogen more efficiently, which can in turn be the fuel cells for storing the energy that's created by wind power or solar power. It sounds like there's a lot of pieces here and a lot of opportunity for investment and investors to really support this economy. Now, one of the challenges to this is that we're starting from a baseline point, and that baseline point is kind of was a coal-driven economy and a natural gas-based economy or a fuel-based economy out of the Middle East, gas hitting gas and striking oil.
Started with the caveman, remember?
That's right, the caveman.
The wood in the cave.
Now you're starting there, and everything in this space gets politicized because for each of these things there is investment, there's economies, there's dollars, there's jobs,
environment.
And there's environment, and there's deniers of each of these things, and so it's a big in modern language, it's a big shit show.
There's a balance involved with everything. There's not one clear choice. In engineering, you find that a lot of times there's no one simple answer immediately that you can rely on. You have to say, I know where I want to go, and I know where I am. And instead of shutting everything down in the world and operating 10% of it because that's all I can do it the way I want to do it, I have to come up with a way of getting to where 100% of what we want to do can be done in an efficient way and in a non-polluting way and so forth. Right.
And, people tend to take sides on the different sources of energy in the political sphere. You often get people, the incoming administration seems to be an advocate of returning to the coal-based paradigm or the oil-based paradigm, whereas the outgoing administration was much more focused on the wind-based or the solar-based. And it sounds like there is a spectrum here, and it's not quite black and white as the politicians try and make it. And so, it seems that everything kind of plays a part. That we're starting from a point that is the baseline. If it's coal or oil, that's the place that you're starting from. But you can't just turn that off, because that just kind of would cause the entire system to just kind of fall over. And then you talk about the people that are advocates of nuclear power, and you get people that are just scared of that for being scared's sake, and you get the people that are on the solar side that are, the tree huggers as well, that are like, coal is evil. Well, it's not evil. It's just what it is today, and we got to move away from it, but you can't get away from it all at once.
We learn from each thing we do, and we make things safer. So you can imagine that when Benjamin Franklin flew the first kite and came close to probably killing himself by trying to do the experiment with the key while he was holding a wet string on a lightning storm.
Brilliant.
He could have died, and we would have had a big loss of his intellect. But we learned from that how to do things more and more safely. Many people died when new technologies came along, and we lost a few people in the space program due to some accidents. And each time we have an accident, we learn from it, and we do things better the next time and safer. We had a big explosion in a fertilizer plant down in Texas that killed many, many people. And the idea that you have things that are important to produce, but can be done safely, and we learn and we do things safer and safer. Technology can be done safely, and in the nuclear business, they're looking always for more safer and safer plants. What I think. The Gates Foundation is sponsoring a very super safe nuclear development that's called using waste uranium and very safe conditions. All the new design nuclear plants have super safe qualities to them, and so what we're seeing is every time we learn from something like Fukushima, they learn, hey, all I needed to do was have an outlet on the outside so I could put water back in the fuel storage tanks, and they wouldn't have had that problem. Well, They didn't think they needed it because they had...
It was up so high in a mountain. Who thought a wave could get up that high?
Well, and took out their tanks. That the tanks could have been underground and so forth. There's a number of things, and of course, the United States, they spent billions of dollars upgrading all the plants to learn from each accident that has occurred, so they're less likely to ever occur. That the worst accidents was that occurred. It had no containment, and all the U.S. plants have containment. And this fuel storage thing. So each thing we learn about as part of this process is important to go forward with to make things safer. One interesting thing about coal and oil, if you look around you, everything that you have in your office or your radio, the plastics that you have, the clothes that you wear, everything's based on oil or carbon from coal or carbon from oil. It's very important for all the things we have. You all have seen synthetic synthesizers like 3D printers and things like that. And if you're Star Trek fans, you go to the thing, you say, I want this, and it produces it. They have they make these syn fuels, these synthetic fuel developing tools, not tools, but the building blocks from oil and coal and so forth. So if we look at how we're going to use the resources that we have, like the oils and the coals and so forth, that have tremendous capabilities to be used to make synthetic things, medicines, clothing, hardware, plastics, lightweight things, carbon fiber, golf clubs, whatever you can think of. Oil and coal. I'm a chemical engineer, so I'm waxing poetic here. A tremendous amount of things you can make. So you never want to see a loss of the ability to harvest these resources for useful things, not just for burning them and. Well,
it's the burning them things that do pollution and things to the environment. Obviously, these resources can be deployed in good ways.
If carbon dioxide was gold, we'd all be rich.
That's right. But instead, we are inspired by diapers to do podcasts in this case. But well, listen, we were here today talking about the ammonia economy, part of our energy series here at Pop Song Tech. Nice outlet for my dad as well, because this is the stuff that he likes to talk about. We're talking about. I want to talk about Notre Dame football, right? And I'm like, who won the game? Well, not Notre Dame football this year.
No, this is the bad year.
Yeah, this is the bad year for that. But listen, I want to thank you so much, Dad, for joining us here at Pop Song Tech today and in the previous shows.
It was a pleasure, Otis.
You got it. And so let's see. One last question. I'm going to try it again. 5 + 3 + 2.
Well, it doesn't seem that calculus was the way you understood that. So we're going to use geometry instead. The Pythagorean theorem is a very interesting way to use addition and subtraction to figure out what the length of a hypotenuse is. But let's not go there.
I just want the answer. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
So that is our show for this week, and I want to sincerely thank Tolan Shaw for joining us for an awesome, insightful interview and leading us into his newest single called Never Known. There's a music video out for that was just released this week. And I want to thank my pops, Papa Ranger, for joining us over the past 3 shows to share with us some awesome insights about the state of the energy economies, taking a look at nuclear power, hydrogen power, and today, ammonia power. So that is our show for this week, and I want to thank you sincerely for supporting us, checking us out at popsongtech.com. For those of you that have retweeted our tweets or shared our posts on Facebook, thank you so much for that. If you've got ideas for the show in terms of either musicians that you'd like to see featured or technology topics or entrepreneurs that you think would be great for this show, feel free to send me a note anytime. You can email me at popsongtech@gmail.com. Again, it's popsongtech@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter at popsongtech, same on Facebook. And that is our show for today. We started it off with Tolan Shaw's song called Change the World, and want to wish you all a very happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. He is a man, a visionary that we celebrate this week who also changed the world, and we've got a lot of activity going on in the good old U.S. of A. this week, saying farewell to President Obama and hello to President Donald J. Trump. Interesting occurrences as they prepare for the inauguration this week. I read that they're putting blue tape over all the Porta-Johns. The brand on the Porta-Johns in Washington, D.C. is apparently Don's Johns. Real story. And Donald Trump apparently doesn't like that they're called Don's Johns because he doesn't want people associating his name Don with the crappers. So that's among the things going on, the plan for the inauguration this week. But it is a busy one, and I want to thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today here at Pop Song Tech. Invite you to share the show with a friend. We're going to end the show today with one final song from Tolan Shaw called Falling.
In the morning, when we catch each other's eyes, I can tell by your smile that this feeling's not a lie. I wanna be your everything, I wanna be your prize. Girl, you've got me by the heart, and you never had to try. Falling, 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 falling for you. Hey. Falling, 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 falling for that ruby red lipstick and that sundress that I like. Your confidence, your smile had me heavy from the start. Girl, we've never said a word, but you've got me by the heart. Falling